sunny Monday morning right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you're watching from. It's Business Morning live from Channels HQ. Great to have you spend your morning with us right here. Let's take a look at what's in the news right now. Some top stories. The International Labour Organization, the ILO, says it is committed to supporting the Tinubu-led administration to create over 2 million digital jobs to reduce unemployment. ILO's country director for Nigeria made the comment during the commemoration of this year's World Youth Skill Day in Abuja. According to her, the digital economy has become an integral part of Nigerians' daily lives, thereby shaping the industrial sector and creating more opportunities. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, about 53.4% of youth are unemployed, which is why the ILO is raising the need to invest more in technology to bridge the skill gap through the digital economy. And the Central Bank of Nigeria has announced the approval of a new code of corporate governance imposing a maximum tenure of 12 years for managing directors or chief executive officers of banks. CBN disclosed this information in a circular signed by the Director of Financial Policy and Regulation Department. This comes after a previous ruling in February limited executives to a cumulative tenure of 20 years in the banking sector. CBN clarified that the new code supersedes all prior codes, circulars and directives on corporate governance issued by the bank. And Standard Chartered Bank PLC has reached an agreement to sell its subsidiaries in sub-Saharan Africa to Axis Bank, a subsidiary of Axis Holding. Announcing the deal in a statement, Standard Chartered says it will sell its shareholding in its subsidiaries in Angola, Cameroon, Gambia, and Sierra Leone. The multinational bank says Axis Bank will also take over its consumer, private, and banking business in Tanzania. According to Standard Chartered, Axis Bank will provide a full range of banking services and continuity for key stakeholders, including employees and clients. The multinational adds that the transactions are still subject to regulatory approval in each of the countries, including Nigeria. In April 2022, Standard Chartered had announced it would fully exit operations in 7 countries in Africa and the Middle East as part of plans to upscale its businesses. Let's take a look at what's happening with oil markets. Now, we see oil prices dipped for a second session today after Libya's output production. And we see some data coming out from the weekend for China. The world's largest crude importer is expecting to release economic data showing that its post-pandemic recovery is fizzling out. Brent crude futures fell about 57 cents to $79.30 a barrel, while U.S. WTI crude was trading at $74.90 a barrel, down 52 cents. Prices softened after both benchmarks last week notched a third straight week of gains and touched their highest level since April, when output was short at oil fields in Libya and Shell halted export of Nigerian crude, tightening supply. And the Nigerian Exchange Group PLC had its 62nd annual general meeting earlier this week. Last week. Top on the agenda was the annual report for the period ending December 31st, 2022. At the 62nd annual general meeting in Lagos, the chairman of the Nigerian Exchange Group PLC, Dr. Umaru Kwairanga, said the NGX Group is committed to navigating the economic landscape with resilience and innovation. Also, Mr. Oscar Onyema, Group Managing Director and CEO, lauded the NGX for achieving 10.3% increase in gross earnings, despite a challenging economic environment. Financial report for 2022 shows total assets grew 50%. Take a listen.
After the mutualization, we know that this is a profit-oriented organization. What we are doing is to set up some very good platforms. We are looking even beyond Nigeria. We have already demonstrated this at Exchange that have the capacity, have the potential to do much more than what we are doing today. You can see where we are making a lot of investment. You can see the lot of expenses that we are looking at so that we can be able to reduce them. Most of the issue raised at today's AGM is about issue of dividend. And we believe it's just a matter of time. We have given our words to the shareholders that we will look inward and make sure that we have increased the pie.
With regards to market performance, the market has done very well since demutualization. If you look at 2022, the market went up significantly with regards to equities market capitalization, fixed income market capitalization, took a little beating with regards to exchange traded funds. This year, already everybody knows that the market on the equity side has already gained over 5 trillion Naira. On the fixed income side, the same thing. And on the ETF side, the same thing as well. So generally, since we demutualize, from a market perspective, the market has done well. If you look at the company itself, from a share price perspective, the company has done well as well. We listed at a little over 16 Naira. The company, as of yesterday, closed at about 25 Naira. In the last week, it was even higher. So generally, value has been created for shareholders. But I think the point shareholders are making to us is that in addition to capital appreciation, they would like to see us pay dividends, and that is top of mind for us.
And now to our first conversation. Well, pipeline vandalism is a major headache for the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, and they have to deal with that, constantly, as vandals constantly attack petroleum product pipelines to make a profit of sales. And just recently, pipeline vandals intercepted the System 2B pipeline belonging to the National Petroleum Company Limited around Good Luck Estate, around the Isheri Idumu area, carting away with several liters of premium motor spirit. Let's count the costs now. Joining me right here is Mr. Akin Akinrade, Chairman, IPMAN, Lagos, joining me right here in the studio. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Thank you.
So this is definitely a big headache for stakeholders in this industry. Paint a picture for me. How do these vandals actually operate, and how does this latest interception, how does it impact supply of PMS to Lagos and the Southwest at large?
Thank you very much for having us. How they operate, I may not be able to say because I've never been involved.
I can imagine. Definitely you're not involved.
Yeah. But what happened on the 7th of July, because I was at the scene when the CP was there with his men, a particular valve of the pipeline was interrupted, and a kind of pipe placed on it with 3 edge pulls. Apparently, they brought in 3 trucks and simultaneously filling the 3 trucks at the same time. Unfortunately, where this happened was in the center of Idimu town. And like you said, in front of Good Luck Estate. And Good Luck Estate, from my understanding, is the residence of policemen and women, security agents. So you now ask the question, how did it happen in their vicinity? And besides that...
And was this broad daylight?
I think it was done under the cover of the night.
Right.
Yeah. Because I learned it happened around 2 a.m. So by the time the security agents moved in around 4 o'clock, they abandoned the truck and ran away. So it was done under the cover of the night.
And I'm sure these areas have, vigilantes at night. Is it not possible they would have spotted them, that they're not afraid of being spotted?
Apart from...
How do you have so much confidence?
Yes, that's the question. Apart from vigilantes, there are security men, policemen, and civil defense men that are supposed to man that particular spot. The question is, where were they? It's either they are complicit or something like the religion of duty. But the problem we have in this country is we don't make people to account. Because if those guys were posted there for security of that pipeline, and this happened, they should be asking them questions, and they should be answering questions now as to how it happened. Is either they were not on spot or they were part of the deal. And over time, you will recall that for close to 2.5 years, that pipeline was abandoned because of the activities of these vandals. And we couldn't load at satellite depots. In fact, all the depots in System 2B.
So that pipeline is back online?
It's back online now, just for satellite depot.
Okay.
All the other 4 depots on that pipeline, Ibadan, Ilorin, Mosimi, Ore, they are not functioning now. It's just satellite depot that is working. And all these other depots come to load in Lagos for now.
So the reason why these depots are not working is because of vandalism?
You are right. Absolutely.
So how does this impact supply, of PMS to Lagos and in most parts of Southwest?
Yeah, how it impacts. Number one, you will recall that October last year, before this pipeline was brought back to life, we raised an alarm. Then we had a government fixing price. And we raised the alarm then that we could not sell at government price because the private depot was selling to us well over government price. And it was until February this year, when this pipeline came back to life, that we started selling gradually at government price before the full deregulation. So the major impact is pricing. If Ejigbo Depot closes down today, in another 2 weeks, I can assure you the price of PMS in Lagos area will go beyond 700,000 naira per liter.
That's 700 naira.
Yes, within 2 weeks, I assure you. So we must do everything to keep this pipeline working. The easiest way to move petroleum product or any liquid is through the pipeline. So we, as IPMA, we are pleading with the authorities, especially the security agents, to be more alive to their responsibility as far as this pipeline security is concerned. I'm equally asking Lagos State government, especially, it's like Lagos State government is not showing much interest in the security of the pipeline, whereas Lagos State government is the first beneficiary of this pipeline being alive.
How much responsibility does the state have in securing, pipelines that, pass through the states?
Well, constitutionally, the government has the fundamental duty of preservation of life and properties. You will recall the Jegun fire outbreak, the Abule Egba fire outbreak, right? When people go on this pipeline and tamper with it, there is the possibility of fire outbreak. And you know the number of lives that will go with it, the properties that will go with it, destruction of so many things. That's number one. Since February this year that Ejigbo Depot started working, you will notice that the traffic along Apapa has reduced, even in the Jegun area, because all those trucks, tankers, clogging the road, they are back here at Ejigbo. So relieving Apapa and Ejigbo of the traffic caused by these trucks. And like I said, the second thing is price. Ejigbo is the price stabilizer. Once you disrupt Ejigbo,
prices will definitely go up. So we need to protect that pipeline going forward. What conversations are you having, with NNPCL and the state government to make sure that these pipelines are actually protected?
I'll give it to the pipeline. They call themselves now National Pipeline and Storage Company Limited. I'll give it to them for ensuring the security so far. But it's like there are people who are interested in shutting down that depot. I know they have their own arrangements, and even the arrangement with these security agents was done by NNPC. It's just that, like Asai Dokubo will tell you, the security agents are at times complicit. What we think will help the situation here is this last one, the one that occurred on the 7th of July, the security agents should go all up to investigate, because I learned some people have been arrested. Let them go to the root of it. They will tell them the cartel.
What about those materials they used to, vandalize the pipeline?
They are with the police. We got a truck. There was a truck there. If you followed it, you will have seen the truck.
Yeah, any information on that truck yet? On the owner and all that?
Yes, the information that came to us was that the owner, they got him. The driver, they got him. In fact, we learned the driver came all the way from Shaki, and he was arrested in Shaki. So we know they are working on it. And I want to give it to the area commander, Area M, because since that incident started, he's been on it. He's been on it. We want to encourage him to go all up and go to the root of this matter. If you are able to bust the cartel here and now, that pipeline will be saved.
Do you know if there's any specific reason why they targeted that 2B pipeline?
It's not just 2B pipeline. It's all the pipeline all over the country.
But this last activity?
The pipeline from Atlas Cove to Key Farm is the only one functioning now under System 2B.
So because that's what's functioning, that's why they went there, basically.
Absolutely.
All right, so, going forward, what are you seeing, with the conversations you've had so far? Is there, indication that security operatives are going to, stand up and protect these pipelines, and looking at Lagos State, at this time? What do you think is going to happen, going forward? Because you've said it that if that pipeline goes offline, then PMS prices are going to go up. From the body language you're seeing right now, do you think that pipeline will be protected?
We can only appeal to the security agents to be up and doing and be alive to that responsibility. Like I said, we equally appeal to Lagos State government to show more interest. We know that Lagos State government, they call themselves state of excellence, and we have seen them demonstrate it. Let them come and demonstrate it here. Let them put vandalism, at least within the Lagos area, let them consign it to history. I know they can do it. Like I said, MPLC, they are doing their best, but I think they need to be assisted. Probably they will try this Tompulo idea, bring private company to secure the line. Maybe that would give us a better result.
Private companies. Well, we'll keep tracking that as a developing story right now and hope that gets protected, because we don't need any more price hike with PMS going forward. Thank you so much, Mr. Akin Akinrade, Chairman, IPMAN Lagos. Great having your perspective today.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll take a break now. When we come back, take a look at CBN's latest guidelines for the banking industry. That's our next conversation. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning. Welcome back. Well, the Central Bank of Nigeria last week revised the cash reserve ratio of merchant banks to 10% from 32.5%. CR is a share of a bank's total customer deposit that must be deposited with the central bank. Let's find out the rationale for this reduction. Joining me now is Mr. Tajuddin Ibrahim, Director of Research and Strategy, Chapel Hill, Denham. Joining me via Zoom. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me on the show.
So the CBN has definitely been busy the past few weeks. Now is the cash reserve ratio for merchant banks revised downward to about 10%. How do you see this development?
I think the development is a reflection of what Nigerians should expect in the next couple of quarters, because it is an indication of a loose monetary policy stance by the central bank. Because if you look at the cash reserve ratio, we all will understand that it is an indication of management in the financial system. Now, if the central bank is cutting down from 32.5% to 10% without necessarily sitting at the monetary policy committee meeting to make this decision, what it means is that the CBN is, single-handedly, taking that decision to go from tight monetary policy to what we can consider as a loose or accommodative monetary policy stance. I think that is what it implies, and Nigerians, generally speaking, should be expecting an improvement in business activities as liquidity improves in the banking sector, and also which will have impact on the economy as a whole. Those are my views.
Banking system, when the CRR increased to about 32.5% from 27.5%. Why do you think the CBN is targeting, merchant banks for this reduction in CRR? Because I know merchant banks normally target, high net worth individuals and, international, entities like the big ones, on the table. Why do you think they're targeting merchant banks?
or let me say the lower subsector of the banking sector, because the merchant banks are not as financially buoyant as the large commercial banks. So if they are starting from the merchant banks, the impact in terms of liquidity inflows into the financial institution will largely be limited, and it is a reflection of let us start from the lower parts, and then over time they may consider extending it to the other subsectors of the banking space as a whole. But I think it is starting on a slow note in my view.
And the CRR was increased to tackle, rising inflation by reducing liquidity. Inflation still above 22%. Last I checked. What are the potential implications of this CRR revision on the inflationary pressures in Nigeria?
So I think the impact of this CRR reduction for the merchant bank will be limited on inflation for a couple of reasons. Number one, we consider the fact that our inflation in this country is not necessarily demand pushed. It is largely driven by cost. So when we have more liquidity flow in the merchant bank space, that will not necessarily result in an increase in inflation. That is one. The second thing to bear in mind is that the merchant banks they are fewer when you compare them to the commercial banks, and they also have much smaller balance sheet compared to the big commercial banks. So any freedom of liquidity in that space is unlikely to negatively impact inflation. Where we could see the impact on inflation is where we have the large commercial banks having more of their liquidity being made available to them, and then they go to chase the foreign currency, US dollars in this case. Then we may begin to think about the impact of inflation as a result of higher system liquidity. But for now, I see little or no impact for these merchant banks in my view.
All right, we're still all eyes on that June inflation data. We're all counting down to that one right here in Nigeria. But it seems this government is prioritizing, economic growth over inflation. How can the government make this plan work without stoking inflation even more? Because salary earners, pensioners are feeling the heat right now.
So I think one way that they can make it work, is to ensure that whatever flows from the banking sector in terms of an increase in liquidity is not allowed to chase US dollars. If the liquidity free flow in the banking sector is allowed to chase US dollars, what it means is that FX rate at the parallel market will be going higher, and that will lead to an increase in the cost of goods and services, and eventually it will lead to higher inflation. And let us mind, those two words. I said the costs, of goods and the cost of services. So which means we are looking at costs, and we are also looking at foreign currency. When commercial banks have huge liquidity in Naira in their position, some of them tend to chase the US dollars at the parallel market, and that results in higher exchange rate and eventually results in higher prices of goods and services, particularly those that are imported, and you will see the impact on inflation. So what they have to monitor is to ensure that any form of liquidity flows in the banking sector is not allowed to chase the US dollars. If they can deal with that, then we will not see the impact on inflation, and we will see more of economic activities on the back of higher liquidity flow in the financial system. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, definitely a lot to do there. But how do you see markets reacting to this? First trading day today. How do you see, especially that financial services counter? How do you see it reacting to this?
So for the financial services counter, one thing we have to bear in mind is that the banks that are listed are not affected as we speak, because those are largely speaking the big commercial banks, talking about the tier 1 banks, the tier 2 banks, and also the tier 3 banks. We don't have much of those merchant banks listed. So we should still see investors confidence and interest in the banks remaining strong this week, particularly bearing in mind that last week was a week of profit taking for investors on most of the banks, that some of them lost 20%, 25% in 1 week. It is a good thing because it allows investors to take profits on their investment. So this week, we could begin to see a re-rating. We have no negative news in the sector. All we have is stability, in my view.
Right, investors definitely looking out for the next market-moving news. Thank you so much, Mr. Tajuddin Ibrahim, Director of Research and Strategy, Chapel Hill Denham. It's great having your perspective today.
Thank you for having me.
And talking about the markets now, we have Will Ibong there coming on to give us the details. Great to have you, Will. I see it's red you're wearing.
Yes.
No pun intended.
No pun intended, but
yeah.
The market ended red.
It did end red.
Yeah, the NASD, that's the unlisted market, and the equities market, both NGX,
right.
all in the red.
And this was definitely unplanned, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Or maybe.
Unplanned.
Right.
So we did see, looking at the FX, we're still talking about FX, we still see that drop in the FX reserves. It was down by more than $2 million last week today, July the 12th. And we're seeing that pressure. It's now beginning to seem that it's going to lose that $34 billion mark that we currently are at the moment. And we're probably looking closer at 33 right now. And that's something to be worried about.
That's quite scary.
Yes, quite scary.
Yeah.
As you looking at the total amount of imports, of how much you can pay for imported goods based on that, I think we need to really put our eyes on that and see how much we can get inflows, FX inflows.
We need more dollars in at this point.
Yes, we need more dollars in, Ladi. So we did see, as I mentioned, we saw that FX reserve dropping by $2.01 million week on week to $34.06 billion. It's tiptoeing around that $33 billion mark now. Now, last week, however, this FX spot and derivatives market, we saw the total turnover for that transaction on that exchange dropping by 9.97% to $393.52 million, and that was from $437.1 million reported in the previous week. Now, this decrease was driven by the 10.82 decrease in the FX spot market, and that offset the positive we saw in the forwards market. Now, but the increase that we saw, the total increase we saw in the derivatives market was a result of the increase we saw in the positive for the derivatives there. But total turnover for the spot market, as the I&E window, as I said earlier, dropped by 10.82% to $381.74 million. And we did see the FX, the exchange rate at the I&E window trading around 803 naira to about 803 naira to a dollar. That is really a high one for the I&E window, and for the parallel market was much higher at about 820. Now look at the NAFEX rate and see how it dropped. It closed for Friday. We saw for the week 770 naira 33 kobo to a dollar against the previous week, which we had 762 naira 39 kobo to a dollar, a drop of 1.03%. That's about 7 naira 90 something kobo off the market. I mean, off the depreciation of about 7 naira. Now look at the fixed income. We see the fixed income still in that position where yields are not looking very, very positive for investors. But we have Kolawole Komolafe, is fixed income dealer with Access Bank, to give us more insights on the markets. Good morning, Kolawole. It's good to have you on the program. Okay, we don't have him at the moment, so we'll come back to that. But let's look at what's happening at the FX market. The equities market. We see that drop of 0.75% for equities, and we're seeing that pressure now about 62. At the 62,000 level currently. Now, volume activity chart, we did see that volume down from what we've been, seeing it. Our current market price, we did see we're having that bullish momentum, but we're seeing that pullback in the market, which is causing investors to trade cautiously. Investors are trading cautiously, coming off that bullish rally that they've had currently. So we see the banking sector was down more than 14% last week. We saw consumer goods down 2.29%, and industrial goods was up 9.01%. I think that the suspension of the tariff, the tariff in the manufacturing sector is boosting that counter. Now, insurance is also down more than 11%, and oil and gas up 1.43%. Now, let's look at the gainers and losers for last week. We see Dow Communications having about 50% increase in the share price. It's opened at 20 kobo to close at 30 kobo for last week. We did see also John Holt having a 44.8% increase, opened at 1 naira 25 kobo to close at 1 naira 81 kobo. And Deep Capital Management and Trust also having that 34.62% uptick to close at 35 kobo in last week's trading session. Now, looking at the losers, we saw Champion Breweries topping that counter last week, down 31.52% to close at 3 naira 15 kobo from its close of 4 naira 60 kobo. Investors are very frenzied right now, taking a lot of profit on these stocks. Now, we saw top trades, UBA topping that counter. A lot of investors, we saw a lot of sell-offs in that counter for last week. UBA topped that. The pressure was a lot for the UBA. Transnational Corporation was also one of the stocks that made it to the top trades. FBN Holdings losing a lot of sell-offs in FBN Holdings as a result of, the news about the tussle, a power tussle in the company. Investors are a bit shaky and wondering what's going on, what's next for the market, what's next for the banking, for that bank. And we see investors pulling out their investments, just taking profit and, selling off stocks there. But we'll watch and see how the market plays out, especially with the new CBN guidelines on equity acquisition in the sector. Now, let's look at the NASD on listed markets. We did see that uptake, 0.75%, just the same margin that the equities market lost for the week, but it was up 0.75% to close at 770.89 points. Now, market cap is now at 1.07 trillion naira. That's a huge one for the NASD market. A lot is going on there. Investors are, keeping their eye on stocks there, and you will see that market really moving in that upward direction. Now, we saw that over 3,000% uptick for volume traded last week to 329.11 million units. We saw value at 215.65 million naira, and while deals was up 107 deals all transacted in 6 stocks were traded last week. I think we have Kolawole Komolafe right now back on the show to give us more insights on what happened in the fixed income and the FX market and the fixed income space. Good morning, Kolawole. It's good to have you on the program.
Yeah, hi. It's a pleasure being here.
Kolawole, we're seeing that if we go back to that transaction, the FX transaction there, we saw that Naira settled exchange traded FX futures for the maiden, the first time it was traded. We saw that $0.8 million worth of contracts in 8 deals, but there were no deals executed in the over-the-counter FX futures market. The exchange, we understand, is short end for the banking sector, while the OTC is the long end for the central bank. Why did we not have any trade there?
Oh, yeah. Well, as you know, the platform was made live on 12th of July, right? So these are still nascent days. Market participants are still watching to see what would happen on that space, and market participants are still being onboarded on that platform. So as we have more market players on that platform, you'll see activity there. So that's just basically what happened. So going into this week and forward, we expect that we will have a lot of traction on the platform, and market participants would trade actively.
So coming off of that, we're seeing the central bank cutting the merchant bank's cash reserve by about 70%. That's down from up from 32.5 down to 10%. What does this mean for liquidity in the system, Kolawole? Because I know that the CBN is using the CRL to kind of mop up cash in the system, but what is this going to mean for the markets in general?
Okay, yes, you're right. We saw a circular release where the CRL was reduced from 32.5 to 10% for merchant banks. What this means is that we'll still have elevated levels of system liquidity. If you recall, for a while now, we've had high levels of system liquidity, upwards of 700 billion naira. So this CRL adjustment to 10% for merchant banks just means that would have that sustained level of system liquidity. And it's worthy to note that it isn't effective until August 1st. So barring any significant market changes where we wouldn't have that level of system liquidity up until that time, then we'll just have a lot of liquidity in the system. What this means is that you might likely see more activity or more interest in the fixed income space as rates would remain depressed in the money market space.
What does this mean for inflation? We're expecting inflation numbers this week. How will this impact, like going forward, will this stoke inflation to go higher? What does this mean?
Yes, so what we'll see is depending on, so market is expecting inflation figures from the MBS, like you rightly stated, this week. And depending on what that figure is, we might see the central bank still come out to carry out some money market operations, some OMO operations, and then there should be a meeting of the monetary policy committee, and would watch to see what they would do to stem inflation. Inflation for May closed year-on-year at 22.41%. So if we still see inflation figures and we still have that sticky inflation, then we might see the CBN continue its hawkish stance and raise rates just to combat inflation.
So I would not let you go without talking about this or asking you about this. Access Bank did acquire, is going to acquire Standard Chartered subsidiaries across 5 countries in Africa. What does this mean for Nigeria, especially for investors, and how do you see this impacting, the markets in general?
Yes. Just like you said, Access Bank has entered into an agreement with Standard Chartered to acquire 5 of its subsidiaries in the SSA region. As you have Angola, you have Gambia, you have Cameroon, and then you have Sierra Leone. While SCB is divesting from its private consumer and business banking operations in Tanzania. What this means, of course, is that it's in line with our vision of being the world's most respected African bank. So what you see is we're expanding to those African markets, and this can only mean good news for investors and other stakeholders. Of course, it's also worthy to know that this is still subject to regulatory approvals, but it can only mean well for our investors, and good days are definitely ahead.
Thank you so much, Kolawole Komolafe, Fixed Income Dealer Access Bank, for sharing your insights on the program. We do know that the bond auction is going to take place today. We'll look for the results and see how that plays out for investors. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Pleasure being here. Thank you.
So you had the positive Access Bank acquiring this subsidiary from Standard Chartered. So we're looking to see
big moves. We're seeing
big moves. Access Bank is really trying to expand across Africa. We did see that deal. It already struck in Angola for those banks, and then we're seeing this for Standard Chartered subsidiaries. It's going to be a very huge one for Access Bank.
Definitely be looking out for that after they have a regulatory approval for that. We'll see how it plays out.
The markets.
Exactly. All right, well, thank you so much. As well, they're giving us details from the fixed income market and the local bourse right here. Let's take it now to London. Now we have Juliana standing by right there. Great to have you, Juliana. I see the UK has signed a new trade deal. It's touted to be a boost to the UK economy. We're seeing critics argue it only adds about 0.08% to the UK GDP. What are you seeing?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Good morning, Laddie. Kemi Badenoch, who is the Minister of Trade in the United Kingdom, she has been in New Zealand attending a gathering of her contemporaries at the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, or CPTPP, as it is known. It was established back in 2018, and at one stage, US President Barack Obama was a member. However, his successor, Donald Trump, removed himself. But basically what the bloc is an economic partnership between countries in Asia and Pacific nations, and they are trying to contain the kind of economic might of China. Well, now we know that since the UK left the European Union, they have been trying to forge ties across the world, trying to retain that global dominance, and becoming a member of the CPTPP is just one of those milestones that they hope to reach. As you said, there has been some kind of eyebrows raised just because it doesn't necessarily bring that much economic growth to the UK, but it's certainly an influential group. I believe CPTPP nations employ about 400,000 people across the UK. The trade area covers about 500 million people. Britain certainly doesn't want to be seen as being a very insular, isolated island. So the fact that Kemi Badenoch is in New Zealand, you know, the furthest side of the world, meeting with trade ministers from the Asia Pacific, it's good. And I think the small and medium-sized enterprises in this country will very much benefit from the fact that there will now be zero tariffs on exports such as dairy, meat, cars, gin and whiskey and other components that make up manufacturing in the United Kingdom.
And as Kemi Badenoch says, if they use it, so definitely watching if they actually go ahead and use it. But it's a brand new week. What are markets expecting? You know, any market-moving data for the week coming in the UK?
It is a brand new week. A lot happening this week. In fact, there is a ministerial delegation of agriculture, energy and mining ministers from Africa coming into the UK tomorrow. They'll be hosted by the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Away from that, we do have market moving data. The big one has got to be inflation. That is due on Wednesday, the 19th. We know that inflation in this country is currently at 8.7%, stubbornly high, higher than any other comparable G7 nation. I think economists are forecasting that that will drop to about 8.3%. Still not enough, still a big conversation in this country. And then I believe on Friday, we are going to get retail sales data. That's important because I think retail sales always kind of check the temperature and the mood of the nation. If people are not buying goods, then consumer confidence is low. So we're going to be keeping our eyes out on that too.
Right, yeah, so we'll definitely be looking out for all of that data coming out from the UK this week. Thank you so much, Juliana.
Thanks, Laddie.
All right, yeah, so we've got some news right here now. It said that the House of Representatives has begun a screening process to confirm the new service chiefs and Inspector General of Police appointed by President Bola Tinubu. Today's process follows last week's screening of the nation's security chiefs by the Senate, which approved their appointment. So we see there, breaking news now, the House of Representatives began the screening process to confirm the new service chiefs and Inspector General of Police appointed by President Bola Tinubu. We know how much security is important for investment, and it's been a big issue right here in Nigeria. No one wants to invest in an insecure state. So, yeah, we have our service chiefs there screening process going on, and definitely we'll keep tracking that and bring you more details as they come. All right, now let's head on to other markets. Now we see Bitcoin there rallied above the 31,400 resistance, but there's no follow-up move after that. We got that big news last week of XRP winning that case against the SEC in the U.S. Let's take a look at the sentiment of the market now. 54 points down to neutral after being at greed. We're back to neutral now. Hopefully this doesn't go into fear going forward. Let's look at the top cryptocurrencies we track. We see Bitcoin there holding that 30K level, 0.13%. After that SEC filing there, we got a big jump to about 31,000. Ethereum, that's trading at $1,931, 0.40% up. But we see BNB, $242. That's a native coin for the Binance Exchange there, down 2.29%. I see a big drop this morning for the top cryptocurrency there. Cardano, that's down 0.66%, 31 cents. But we still see XRP still ramming on there, 74 cents, 4.91% up, still rallying on that SEC news we had last week for the U.S., showing that XRP, stating that XRP is not a security, but still a developing story that we're watching out for what happens next, after XRP was declared not a security. So that's how it's looking for the top cryptocurrency we track on the 100 on CoinMarketCap right now. Let's bring in Olumide Additional now, financial market analyst. Hello, Olumide. Great to have you. Hello, Olumide. All right, try and get Olumide back. Let's look at the top gainers this morning. You see 1 inch there, centralized exchange, trading at 52 cents. Up 39.84% this morning. Big move up there. DYDX also up by 8.65%, $2.22. Not looking bad right now. Algorithm, that's 12 Algorand, 12 cents, 7.78% up. And we see another decentralized exchange there, Uniswap. That's trading up 5.71%, $6.08. So there seems to be some kind of move with decentralized exchanges right now. We see BAT also 21 cents, trading up 5.08%. So we're seeing most of these cryptocurrencies still running on that news we had last week that got the market quite positive, that XRP being stated that XRP is not a security. So that's still what's driving the market right now, with Algorand also jumping in on that play. But it seems that decentralized exchanges are coming to play right now. I don't see PancakeSwap on that list yet. Let's look at the top losers counter now. We'll see comps leading that count to 6.65% down, $73.91. And we see Pepe there, king of the altcoins, that king of the meme coins, that is, 4.79% down. We're still seeing profit taking right there. Let's try and bring in Olumide Additional again now. Hello, Olumide.
Hello, Daddy. Good morning.
Fantastic. Yeah, I can hear you now. Great. So how do you see Bitcoin and XRP performance last week? And do you see that continuing? We see that bullish trend continuing in the market, or has it fizzled out already?
Yeah, the market is cooling. If you look at present data and you understand the parabolics happening in the crypto market, you fairly understand that XRP dropped from his weekly high of over 81 cents right now, and it's struggling to stay above 75 cents. The win was a partial victory for the crypto market because clarity wasn't really brought to play. Understanding the fact that the judge classified selling to institutional investors as securitization. So that really brings a lot to play. And that confusion, a lot of experts puts it at the sex advantage. Additionally, reports that the world's largest crypto exchange, Binance, has laying off a number of staff, has led to a lot of investors shorting the BNB, and that's why you're seeing it moderating considerably in the past couple of days. So despite the fact that we're seeing the market rallying, we also need to look at the fact that it hasn't done so well because the US dollar in the past week had been really on the downward side. So the dollar is picking up right now, and that's why a lot of odds are placed against the crypto market this week.
Right, and definitely a brand new week. What market moving data do you think is going to move the crypto market this week?
Definitely the UK's inflation data on Wednesday and the home sales on Thursday. That data will speak on whether the Bank of England will go aggressive on interest rates. The home sales data will also give the US Fed an uptick whether to weigh in more ammunition to really bring up the hawkish narrative or call it off. So that's where a lot of investors will be looking for this week, lad.
Yeah, and looking at the altcoins, do you see any altcoins that one should actually keep on radar this week?
Of course, you can't take your eye away from XRP because the XRP is really the king in the block. Coinbase cracking, announcing the fact that they might reconsider relisting, and Ripple discussing the fact that US banks might get attracted using XRP for crypto cross-border transaction. Definitely, investors will be looking if it will really break above the $1 mark.
Right, everyone looking at XRP at this time. Is it going to break that $1 mark or not? We'll keep watching and see how that plays out. Thank you so much, Olumide Additional, Financial Market Analyst. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now let's head back to the markets now for the top losers. See, Little Dow, $2.19, down about 2.73%. Not so bad. So we're seeing profit taking on these ones here with the king of the new kid on the block for the meme coins. That's Pepe, down 4.79%. INJ is at $9, down 4.76%. So no double-digit losses this morning. Just a couple of single-digit losses, but still looking for direction at this point because the market is still trading neutral. That's what we're seeing for sentiment for investors. All right, that's how the market is looking, and that's a wrap on the program. Don't forget, you can watch this again on our YouTube channels. Flip over to YouTube, search for Channels Television, and you can watch all our productions. Remember, you can also look out for Business Incorporated at 1:30 p.m. Later on today for more developments in the world of business. You can also visit our website, www.channelstv.com for more updates. Thank you again for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.